What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. NXT Halloween Havoc 2022 just happened, so we're going to run it down, tell you everything we think about what went down. I'll tell you all the results, recap all that stuff, and everything else that we do under the sun here. I am Tony Mango, joined by Robert DeFelice.
Yeah, I'm here, and we have just finished the event.
We know that you're here with the random jump up and gain on your microphone.
Really? Oh,
I think you're having that same mixer issue that you might have had before.
Hold on.
You start off, yeah, here, like you're not that enthusiastic about it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, we are feeling
leveling out now.
It seems like you might be. We're both kind of feeling like a thumbs up, but at the same time tired about this.
It's okay. So like the way that I'm feeling, I don't know if you can say the same. It's got no bearing on the actual event. It's just more like, yeah, this was good. It wasn't super eventful in terms of like, and all this news happened, but some things definitely happened that I think are leaning towards the positive, and it was a fun NXT event.
I'll do my quick, too long didn't read of it. Was 5 out of 6 of the matches got a thumbs up from me, where I was like, it's a solid match.
Boy, I wonder what the one match was.
Yeah. But at the same time, I do kind of feel like if you didn't see it, there's really nothing that you need to see. Like you could skip it, and you're not going to be like, man, you missed out on the pay-per-view of a lifetime or something. As much of a 5 out of 6 is good. It's great in a lot of ways. It's not going to be on my like best pay-per-view of the year list, you know?
I think in one match in particular, 2 superstars proved that they can be a big thing in the future. And I think if anything is going to be pointed back to this event, it's going to be the ambulance match.
Might be that, and that's one of the many gimmicks that we're going to talk about tonight. And we want you to talk about it as well. So, see, we got some people in the live chat. Make sure that you chat it up there. If you're listening to this after the fact, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about NXT Halloween Havoc 2022. If you are on YouTube in any means, whether it's live or elsewhere, then hit the like button, subscribe, ring the notification bell, hit the join button, get access to the same tier kind of access stuff that you get with the Patreon. You can see on your screen right now on the Marketplace thing, patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment, and the YouTube channel membership are where you can find the dark casts, and you got the pick your poison tier. And if you don't want to submit something like that, then you got the little thanks button as well, and you got the Redbubble and TeePublic shops for the merchandise if you want to pick that up too. All that stuff greatly helps us out, helps keep the lights on here, helps us bring you some more pay-per-view-point type content, and could maybe even upgrade things in the future and all that. So if you want to help grow a Smark Out Moment, then, water a mango tree. So let's start getting into this. The kickoff, or I guess they don't really call it the kickoff, it's more so the pre-show from 7:30 to 8, was basically 2 things. They spun the wheel to settle on what the Apollo Crews and Grayson Waller match was. Turns out that became a casket match, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. And then they started to do this thing where Alba Fyre had challenged Mandy Rose to meet her at this like haunted house, and Mandy Rose and JC Jane and Gigi Dolan were basically responding to that with the idea of, all right, well, let's go. And that was your pre-show, and the rest of it was just, analysis and such. So not too much to talk about there. More stuff.
I want to mention one thing. Sam Roberts did a bit because he's doing the heel commentator shtick, but he said Mandy Rose is synonymous with Halloween Havoc as Rey Mysterio, and I just think that that's so silly. Like, you don't need to go that far into the bit.
He was dressed up as Stone Cold.
He did
wear like a Halloween costume. I thought that was kind of funny. So we started things off with the North American Championship ladder match. This was for the vacated title. You got Nathan Frazer, you got Wesley, Carmelo Hayes, Von Wagner, and Oro Mensah. And This was, solid. Again, I'm going to use the phrase solid quite a bit here. Solid enough ladder match with some decent spots. Some of them I didn't really understand why people were chanting holy shit quite that far for. Like there's a spot where Wesley rides the ladder down onto Nathan Frazer and that got a holy shit chant. And I'm like, we've seen that a million times. I wouldn't do it, but that's, I have a fucking back problem getting out of bed. So it's not really much to compare to.
I saw two things in this match that audibly made me go, oh my God. Von Wagner chucking Wesley.
That was a good spot for sure. That was one of the better ones.
Nathan Frazer doing the springboard reverse Spanish fly on top of the ladder. I thought that was super cool. But Von Wagner stole the show.
He didn't just steal the show. He almost hit a fan as well. There's a spot where he's trying to take one of the big ladders, and he doesn't have enough space really between the ring apron, underneath the ring and everything that he's trying to pull it out from, and the security barricade. So he's trying to get it at an angle and doesn't bother to think, hey, it's not an infinite amount of space behind me before we get to somebody. So this one woman in the crowd nearly got blasted in the face with a ladder, which obviously I wouldn't have wished that upon her because that would be awful. But to a certain extent, I was sitting there going, man, that would have been a real solid moment of this. But it'd just be like, hey, one of the injuries that happened during this match was a fan. Like, you wouldn't have expected that. But that was one of my standout moments of the entire night, was that botch almost happening. But there were some other good spots too, there was the thing towards the end where Wesley runs up the ladder and jumps and kicks Carmelo Hayes off the ladder. And, that was well done. You got the toss that you mentioned. That was probably one of the better spots of the entire night.
You made Von Wagner look like a fucking colossus, that's what you're supposed to do. It was a fine ladder match. I don't want to see another ladder match in NXT for a while.
It has been, I think that they had said this is the 4th North American title ladder match. Would have been the 4th, might have been the 5th.
In general, just do ladder matches too much.
Yeah.
So, maybe, maybe stand and deliver, but even then, just hold off even longer.
I think they can wait. Depends on what they plan on doing, if they want to do stand and deliver again. But if that's going to be just...
They already said, Michaels said during the last media call that is their WrestleMania, and he considers Halloween Havoc to be their SummerSlam. Yeah.
Huh. Then what's Deadline?
Survivor Series.
Just SummerSlam, Survivor Series right back to back like that. This match was good in lots of different spots and everything, and it's not comparable to what we had gotten in some previous ladder matches on other takeovers and everything, and other takeover matches for the different titles to begin with. But at the end, Wesley ends up winning. He is our new North American champion, and crowds were responsive to it, chanting, "You deserve it." So it all kind of worked out in the end, I guess. Right?
We predicted that.
Yeah. So thumbs up.
Yeah,
not too much more to say.
I really enjoyed it. I think it was really good. It just came down to it should be Wes, and it was. And I think Von Wagner will be the next champion after him.
Wagner stands a good shot. I don't think, again, that he's going to have a long title reign, and I'm assuming that one of the bevy of heels is just going to take it from him. I mean, it could be Joe Gacy, it could be Tony D'Angelo. I just hope it's not Carmelo Hayes again, just so they can move on and do something else with Carmelo Hayes.
I think Melo is going up.
Could very well.
Basically said, yeah, he's ready for whenever they want him.
Maybe Royal Rumble time or something. I don't know. But to answer Peter in the chat, he said, how was the show? Worth watching tomorrow? If you got the spare time tomorrow, if you're pressed for time, meh. Yeah, I mean,
I think, and it really depends on who you are, but if you're someone who just wants to watch a show, then absolutely. You can do much, much, much worse. This is a very fun show. If you feel like I only want to watch it if I missed a historic moment. You didn't miss any historic moments.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The show itself, that is something that's worthwhile. But you're not going to be looking back on this in 10 years and being like, man, remember this one thing that happened on that? Nothing like that crazy happened. Thankfully, nothing crazy bad like that either. So they did this thing twice throughout this night where this kind of killed a lot of my energy for it, where Peter says, okay, thanks. I'm going to go back to drinking. Keep this on in the background. Give us the watch hours.
That's right.
They moved into the next segment with the casket match being set up, and they cut back to Toxic Attraction and the whole Alba Fyre thing and this haunted house segment, which I'm seeing mostly positive stuff for people online saying, if you don't like this, you don't really like anything that, you don't want to have fun and whatnot, which I always think is kind of a dismissive thing. If you don't like the thing that I like, then you don't like things, whatever. But it had some moments that I guess you could get a laugh out of. I didn't really like it in particular. I thought that this kind of acting is always bad in NXT in particular. And you got like Gigi Dolan is playing super into it because she really loves Halloween. JC Jane is the one that's the scaredy cat, and she doesn't want to be splitting apart because, hey, have you ever seen any horror film? That's always the biggest mistake and all that. And yeah, the zombies and the mummies and so on and so forth are all there, and spooky time, this and that bullshit.
Hold on. Hold on. You know who you're married to, right?
She wasn't watching at the time.
I just want to say that, just so we're clear. I liked this. I thought this was fine, because like outside of the overacting, which I think is horrible across the board in NXT, it was the first time I really felt like this makes perfect sense. Gigi should be super like, but I like Halloween and this is fun. And JC should be totally afraid of what's about to happen to her. I think that overall, this would have been a better sketch than, anything else they could have done in the haunted house. And I thought it was a fun way to get that last gimmick on the show, because now you can truly say every match had a gimmick on this show.
I mean, on paper, it's going to be a standard match, but it basically was. It's, splitting hairs. They did this thing, it ends up being Alba Fyre comes back to the ring, and, we're going to follow that story later on, essentially. And I thought that it was kind of weak the way that they ended that part, but we come back to it a little bit later on. They go to a casket match, which, let's talk about that in general. I certainly did not expect this to become a casket match. I figured, well, they're not going to do that because, number one, there is nothing at all indicating a casket match. Number two, neither of these have anything to do with caskets. And number three, that would mean two different seal the door on your opponent matches on the same card. And lo and behold, they do a casket match.
I liked it, because it's like I told you, like, how many random guys... This feels like a video game where you just want to have a casket match to have a casket match.
Yeah, and it's like Macho Man against, I don't know.
Against, like, it's a...
Chad Gable.
Or something. Like, it's like... I kind of like that they did that, because Undertaker's gone now. These matches don't need to exclusively be for anybody. And where else are you going to get the chance to do this outside of a gimmick like spin the wheel, make the deal? And I also appreciate the fact that Grayson Waller, being a young man and being a WWE fan, spent like the latter half of the match just trying to do Undertaker spots. Like, he was like, I know, I'll do the tombstone. I'll choke slam him into the casket. I thought that was funny, because, like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like myself a good casket match here and there. It's been a while since we've seen one. I think the last one might have been the one at the Saudi show, right? Undertaker and Rusev?
Probably. Wow.
Might have been. There might be another one afterward that I'm forgetting. I don't know, but
technically, do we count the graveyard match? For the Boneyard match?
Nah, it's a Boneyard match. Not
Yeah.
quite a casket. Yeah. It wasn't a Boneyard either, but then again, hell, it wasn't a match, really. But I'm glad that they did this instead of just doing another no DQ type thing. And the match itself was fun. They had some good spots here and there. Nothing to stand out. But I like that they did the thing where Waller slams Cruz through the casket, so they need to bring another casket out. And it's a bigger one. It's got the padding on the inside. It's very Undertaker-esque. And, eventually Cruz gets the win with this, the one-armed choke slam, spinebuster type move that he does. I don't really know is there a technical term for that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I want to call it the Ezekiel Jackson move. So there you
go. The Zeke slam or whatever. And they basically are saying, yeah, it's the end of this feud because he's standing on top and they're saying he's going to move on and do whatever. So if that's the end of it, I mean, not the best feud in the world, but at least it's done. That's not as much of a compliment as I thought that it was.
My God. Yeah, I thought it was good. Unlike what you seem to just imply there.
The feud itself, you thought it was good?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not into the hokey gimmick, but they're using people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get mad when they're using Apollo Crews and he'd be floundering on the main roster on main event. I can't get mad at that. They're actively doing something with talent.
I'd like to see Apollo Crews be the next challenger to Breaker.
I wouldn't. I just want to see whatever. I want to see the person that's going to beat Breaker face Breaker.
You just want him to lose the title.
Yeah,
that's what it translates to.
Because he's main roster ready in a lot of ways, and I just think it's all right, how many times are we going to put him up against people we know he's going to beat?
So what you're saying is you wanted that to be end.
Yeah. And like you just said, it's not that it's the bad run. It's a pretty good title run. I'm just ready for it to be over.
We had a backstage segment with Chase University. They have a new transfer student.
This was so funny.
Duke Hudson. And Andre Chase is giving a trivia question out there. It was, who did the Outsiders beat to win their tag titles at Halloween Havoc? Which Bodie Hayward gets wrong. He suggested the Nasty Boys and then the Steiner Brothers. And of course, Duke Hudson has the answer. It's Harlem Heat. So Bodie Hayward in response is like, I don't know if I trust this Duke Hudson guy.
They also opened up with saying, I can't believe you don't know where Halloween Havoc 95 took place, which is just so stupid, but it popped me. Sure. I don't know why Duke Hudson suddenly enrolling in Andre Chase University. It's not a school. When are they going to get to that? When are they going to get to that part? If this isn't a school, I want the end of Andre Chase University to be Andre Chase getting arrested for impersonating a teacher and embezzling this money from people.
Do you know offhand where Halloween Havoc 1995 took place?
Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan. Of course I know where Halloween Havoc 95 took place. I am a nerd who doesn't do anything else but this. Of course I know.
The Joe Louis Arena?
Joe Louis Arena, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any fucking idea. I couldn't even tell you the main event of it.
Well, you know the main event of Halloween Havoc, of course. It's
95?
Hogan and the Big Show with the Yeti.
Oh, that's 95?
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was 94, 96. Yeah, whatever.
It's the Yeti.
Yeti. Ugh, awful.
Well, since we're talking about segments, let's talk about segments. So they announced that Schism will be revealing their fourth member this Tuesday. Who do you think it is?
John Cena.
I mean, that's a fucking stretch.
Imagine that. I mean, it could be any number of the people that don't have a name yet. Like Jakara Jackson or someone. I highly doubt it's her, but
I think it has to be a name, because if you're doing an unmasking, it has to be like, oh my god, that's, it's Fallon Henley or something.
Out of the women that are on there,
I kind of feel like it's a woman.
It seemed like it was a woman at first, at least. I don't know if they are going to play into that and be like, haha, it's actually just, fuck you or whatever. But out of the women that are the options, a lot of them that could fit that role just because they're not doing anything else wouldn't make any sense to me, because it's not like they're going to go, it's Erica Yan, and everybody goes, oh, who the fuck?
Breaking news from the NXT media call. Shawn Michaels says he believes he's bald because of all the bad things he's done over the years.
Well, I don't know if that is the reason, but I hope that doing some good deeds puts some hair back in there, I guess.
I like that someone bothered to fucking ask him.
Did somebody ask him, or did he just volunteer that information? I'm assuming that they said, tell us some more about stuff tonight. And then he's like, oh, I'm pulling some hair out of my head. I don't have much left, and whatever. He probably did something like that. I'm thinking maybe looking at this list again of the potential women. I mean, it's clearly not going to be like Katana Chance or anyone, but maybe Blair Davenport.
Oh God, no. Oh, that'd be awful.
I would think that she's got a more chance of doing that than Amari Miller. Isla Dawn's a solid. Yeah, that could be her for sure.
Like Isla Dawn. This is a good way to introduce Ava Raine. If you don't want her to be have to crumble under the weight of her family.
Maybe Sloane Jacobs, since she didn't have anything really going on for her, but I highly doubt that's the case. It's not going to be like Tiffany Stratton. It's not going to be Wendy Cho. It's certainly not going to be Nikita Lyons or Zoe Stark or Ivy Nile, anybody who's prominently out there as it is. So Davenport's an option. Maybe they do just go with somebody like a Brooklyn Barlow and just, hey, her name is Brooklyn Barlow. You don't know her because she's only been on Level Up. And maybe it's me, Joe.
If it's a man,
certainly doesn't have the build to be Odyssey Jones.
Well, wow. You're really cracking the case there, Timmy.
Yeah. It's not going to be Ru Feng.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of anybody worth a damn. But I guess that's the beauty here, is that they don't have to necessarily be worth a damn.
Yeah, I mean, they could just say, this Tank Ledger guy is the person.
No, he doesn't have the build for that.
I don't know what he looks like.
Tank Ledger's thick. Tank Ledger's
a tank.
He's a decently built guy, yeah.
I hope it's not someone like Charlie Dempsey. We haven't seen him in a while. What's going on with that?
I hope it's not Charlie Dempsey. I don't know. Could be anybody.
We had that as one of those segments. We got some promo stuff to try to build up hype for the tag team title matches that are happening on Tuesday. We got video package about Bobby Lashley. We eventually got a Miz thing, and we got a whatever. We'll get back around to the promos and stuff.
Hold on, there was another segment I wanted to talk about. Did you see the segment with the mask and the fire?
That was on the second big block of it. That's where my energy went real downhill, because it was a Miz thing, the segment you're talking about, the Shotzi and Quincy part, a Charlotte promo, a promo for Schism, and then the just can we move on to the next match kind of deal. But yeah, one of them was a mask burning in a fire. It seemed like it was T-Bars.
It was totally T-Bar's mask.
So maybe we get Dominik Dijakovic back.
That's a guy who I would watch Dijak and Breaker, even if Breaker was to win. That's the kind of oh cool, big men are gonna do things that big men shouldn't do, and you'll have fun watching.
I would want him to win the title. Just be like, you know what? Let's give him the belt. He's too good for that. Well, let's go backward to the Weapons Wild match, which is another thumbs up for me. It was not actually, the way I anticipated, a series of kendo stick shots. They actually didn't use any kendo sticks from what I can remember. They had some witch brooms ringside, a chain, a rope, trash cans, chairs, etc., etc. But it started off with Roxanne wielding a skateboard, and I was like, that's my ending, but they're doing it first. And it didn't break on the first swing.
It didn't break it. Like
It didn't break it all.
Fucking had some strength behind it. They should have, used that one.
Yeah. They got a spray can of something in the face. There's, the crowd's kind of 50-50 here and there. I thought it was funny that Booker T went on a little rant about how you should get the 10-piece at Chick-fil-A in the middle of this match. His idea was that Roxanne should have hit Cora 10 times with the trash can, and that's where he went, and he laughed himself, made himself laugh. So, they do a spot where they get pushed off the podium. I guess Cora pulls both of them off, and they land on one of the...
That didn't look great.
No, it didn't.
It really didn't. It just looked like, okay, and here we go, friend. Like, I don't know. I wasn't super into that.
It's more like when you see little kids that, jump into a pool.
And they're scared, but they're going to, pretend
but they
they're
go...
back suplexing their friend.
Right, they go, half a foot into the pool. Yeah. It wasn't the best. That podium hasn't really had almost any good shots from it because they tend to get it at a bad angle, or they just go too slow, or it becomes too obvious that it's not really all that high up in comparison to some other things. And of course, they landed on a gimmicked table, so that's much safer. And this ends up with Roxanne winning with a sunset flip powerbomb onto a pile of steel chairs, which it's good enough end for me. Right person won.
Yeah, it was good. They think they're Sasha and Bailey. That's confirmed. They even did interviews about comparing themselves to Sasha and Bailey. And that's fine. This was a good match for these two. They're the top women in NXT 2.0, not named Mandy. And I hope Roxanne gets her title shot soon.
That's one of those things where I'm like, I'm okay with this ending too. Now, that was a
Cora, good... what do you do with Cora? I'm thinking you get her bodyguard and you put her on the main roster.
I wouldn't mind it. She's still got a lot to learn, but she can learn on the main roster. Why not?
And the bodyguard I'm thinking of course, is Babatunde. Because he's big and Cora Jade is not.
That's true. So I liked that match, but what I didn't like was the segment with the hosts in the ring. You got Shotzi dressed up as Beetlejuice. She looked great. Quincy Elliott's dressed up as Banana. Okay. And Lash Legend interrupts them.
Hold on. Quincy goes to talking to the microphone, and he talked into the Banana. And for the life of me, I hope that was planned. The fact that he went to go talk into the Banana made me laugh so hard. Look, it's not great, but they're trying. Yeah,
they're trying. It's do or do not. There is no try though. But Lash Legend interrupts. She says that she should have been the host, and this all basically just becomes a thing where Shotzi gives her a DDT.
I think Quincy had the line of the night, because in case you forgot, this is a real thing. He goes, the Lash Legend show was canceled, or whatever it's called, Lashing Out, was canceled a long time ago, and that tickled me. Because they don't do that anymore, and I don't know why.
What, the Lashing Out?
The Lashing Out. That
because it was awful.
That was one of the better things she did. She's good at talking. Better at talking than she is at wrestling.
I don't say there's that much of a bar. I thought it was terrible.
Speaking of which, though, this all leads to Tuesday night. Shotzi will be facing Lash Legend in what will be Callum Wiggins' match of the year. Undoubtedly.
Carrying over that whole get somebody from the main roster to appear on the episode to try to get some viewers on there. It is what it is. Certainly going to be a match that I feel like skipping forward that I can't. We got Johnny in the chat here. I want to be in the bedroom with Cora. That's not a gimmick that was on this pay-per-view. Instead, we had an ambulance match. So, do you want to be in an ambulance? That was something where I had started off saying, man, after all these promos and vignettes and video packages and all this, I was like, my God, it feels like it's like 15 minutes have gone by and nothing's happened except for the stupid thing with Shotzi. And I really am losing my energy level. So they start off the ambulance match with Damon Kemp being all fired up and Julius Creed chucking pumpkins at his fucking head. And he just ends up having one bounce off of Damon Kemp's head in particular. That was like, I'm like, all right, that's a standout moment.
You so much.
I thought it was great because I was not expecting Julius Creed to grab a pumpkin and throw it, let alone multiple, let alone to land one on his head. And it's just like bunk. Of course, Kemp completely no-sells it. It's not like that's, it's going to knock him out or whatever, but I thought that was fantastic. And then they ended up having a good match. They had a brawl. It wasn't like a standard match. It was supposed to be a brawl. And they went ahead. They beat the crap out of each other here and there. And I don't understand what this was about. Maybe I heard it wrong. Was the crowd chanting, use the bucket?
I don't know.
It sounded like they were chanting that in like 2 or 3 different instances. Use the bucket, which I'm like, what fucking bucket are you talking about? I didn't see anything on there, so I don't know if I was hearing it wrong and they were saying something else, but nothing sounded like bucket that I could imagine, because there was like a stretcher and a ring bell and, the chairs and a wheelchair and all this, and I'm like, no, that sounds like bucket. So if anybody has any idea, let me know what that was. They're imagining an imaginary KFC thing or something. But
get the 10-piece.
Yeah, the 10-piece man. Booker wants the 10-piece one. This is good. I liked it.
This is my favorite match. Because these two guys are going to be stars. This felt like, oh shit, they're here to prove themselves. And
they had a match that made a lot of sense too. Like even spots where they're trying to slam the ambulance door shut and Damon Kemp's using like a crutch that he has in there to stop it. And, Creed is being able to put his hands out there. So even though it's hurting his hands, he's still stopping it from being closed and all. And they did a good job with that.
Yep. And where the fuck is Roddy?
Yeah, no, Roderick Strong. Very surprised about that. This is as straightforward as can be. It's just Creed power bombs Kemp onto the stretcher. He, for some reason, I don't understand this, puts the chair up to his face and then clotheslines it, which is like, it's probably going to hurt your arm more than anything else, but okay. Picks up Kemp, puts him in the ambulance, shuts it. There you go. He's your winner. No
good match.
Turn, no Brutus leaving and all, which, yeah, that's the least interesting option that you could have gone with, but the fact that they didn't do that kind of makes me a little interested now of like, I wonder what they didn't do that for. And, what is going to be the reason that Roderick Strong comes back, and how do you pivot from this, and where do you go from here? And but I really liked it a lot. I thought that Julius Creed has this now as like, outside of winning the tag titles, this is definitely one of his major moments so far.
Yeah, and I think Damon Kemp is good enough to be called Bobby Stevenson, except I think Damon Kemp is probably a better name. But if you want that Gable Stevenson rub, I think he's more than deserving.
Damon Kempson. Maybe.
Why?
Steve Damon Kemp.
Please.
I'm trying to pull Daniel Bryan here.
What's wrong with you?
Plenty.
Yeah, well,
I like that they did this little thing where as the ambulance is pulling out, that's when Alba Fyre and Mandy Rose are coming back.
Yeah,
it's just that's
Shawn Michaels
coincidental.
and Triple H have perfected the, as this thing is leaving, this thing is coming.
Insert joke, and we are. I know Johnny in the chat is throwing out a couple jokes like that. That led to my least favorite portion of the night, which was the NXT Women's Championship match, which had a 50-50 split crowd. Wasn't too much of a match. Basically, your big outline, points of notice are Alba Fyre had the match won. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan came out, stopped the referee from counting. They interfere some more. Rose hits her kick finisher. Rose retains.
I don't like it.
I'm glad Rose is still champion, but
why?
Meh.
Why?
Because I just didn't want Fyre to be champion.
Why?
I'm not a huge fan.
Why?
Multiple reasons. You want me to give you a full breakdown?
Yeah, I do actually, because Alba Fyre can wrestle.
Not
Mandy
any better
Rose
than some other people, I think, and her promos are something I'm never into, and I don't like her character, and I hate the Fyre thing, and the bat thing's stupid, and
Okay, fair enough. But like,
You're like, why? Here's 8 reasons. Okay.
at least, like, all right, if I'm gonna keep pressing you, at least you gave me enough reasons to justify. But like, look, I think Alba Fyre should have been the person to end it, because you're always gonna have this vibe of like, it was just insert person who beats her, and I'm ready to get to that point.
So what you're saying is it's good, but at least it's ending.
except for the fact that I think it's different from the casket match, because this one is I'm ready for it to end. It's been like over a year.
Yeah, I do want Mandy Rose to drop that title. I do want it to be something that feels like it served a purpose.
And she's better off on the main roster now.
Yeah, I agree. You know, she knows what she's doing. She's better as an in-ring performer than she's ever been. She can bring the 2 others up, and you know, it's not like having another couple people on the main roster is a bad thing by any means. You can freshen things up a little bit. You can get some feuds with some other people. I'm up for it. And maybe if you want to, you bring somebody else down to kind of counterbalance that. Bring like a Dana Brooke down or someone.
No. There's no need. You don't need to do that to NXT. What are you doing?
So that led to the main event, the triple threat match for the NXT Championship. Spoiler alert, no, I guess it's not really a spoiler anymore. No cash in from Austin Theory. It ends up just being Bron Breakker retaining with a pinfall over Ilja.
What do you do?
Because it fucking makes me laugh every time. Dragunov is the one that takes the pin, and it was a good match.
I'm surprised that Dragunov took the pin. I'll say that.
I'm not too shocked, but I figured that McDonagh would have been there for that. So, given the 2 options, I still thought that it wasn't going to be Dragunov. But you know, I think it kind of makes sense to just go. He already beat McDonagh. Now he beat Dragunov. We can move on,
and now we move on to. I'm still guessing Theory cashes in. They'll do it on TV. Because why else would you set that up? You know?
Maybe it's just to get people to tune in to Halloween Havoc.
Why? He showed up for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
At the end of NXT.
It was still one of the biggest talking points.
You know what? Shut up.
So they had some good spots here and there. Again, not the most impactful match or anything, but they had that top rope Frankensteiner that turned into a powerbomb. That was cool.
People flipped their lid for that. I was surprised at how many people were like, "Oh my god, that's so crazy!" Like, I've seen it before.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah, people were just like, "Hey, did you see that? He did the." I was like, "What? Yeah, he's done it before."
Yeah. I liked McDonagh stopping the pinfall by just grabbing the referee's hand.
I think that's ridiculous. I think referees should be allowed to be like, you know what? This man won. He clearly had his shoulders down for 3.
Or just take their other hand and then just slap it down.
While looking at the guy holding their hand.
Right.
3. And then stop me, you fucking idiot.
That would be something that I would book if I was doing things, because I had like a long list before. I've since deleted it, but of match finishes that I would like to do if I were in charge, where there were things like, hey, I'd have a match end during the commercial break, because that never friggin' happens. And that way it could just be like, hey, during the commercial break, this happened and whatever. And, you know, I would have the whole like referee just takes his left hand, 3, ding, ding, ding. And he's like, what the hell, dude? I got 2 hands. But this is good. And I'm ready for them to move on. And
it's
just
another. Bron Breakker is a great NXT champion. I think, honestly, he's probably going to be. If we did like a Mount Rushmore of champions and we forced ourselves to include someone outside of like, you know, Cole, Gargano, and Ciampa, Breakker at this point for me would be the 4th.
I wouldn't go that far. But I do think that for the roster that he's got right now, and for
he's synonymous with this era.
Yeah, like, it's his thing for sure. So it's like they're getting a good push out of that for him, and that's working. That's why I'm okay with him like beating Apollo Crews next or something. Like, just keep it going a little bit until you actually know what you want to do for him in the main roster, and then bring him up afterward.
Yeah. Good show.
Yeah, solid show. Not the biggest, most grandiose thing in the world, like we've been saying. But then again, if all you're looking for is a couple hours worth of pro wrestling stuff that ends up being some pretty good matches, that's what you got. So you can't really complain too much about it. You know, some things could be better. Some things definitely could have been a lot worse, but you don't want that to happen. And at the end of this, no titles change hands except for the vacated belt. So the only real big change that we got going forward is we've got Wesley as the North American champion.
And T-Bar.
And yeah, potentially T-Bar. We could see where that goes. If that ends up being something that like, haha, we got you. It's actually fucking Draco Anthony's back and he's wearing this mask or something. But the way that they are doing that, I'm interested in seeing how Dijakovic can come back from that. And I mean, the episode of NXT that we got coming up on Tuesday night doesn't have the most awesome stuff that they're advertising. I don't think either tag team title is going to change hands, and I'm not super interested in Shotzi against Lash Legend, but I want to see who the Schism person is. So they got at least 2 hooks for me.
Yeah, hold on, before we part ways here, I do believe you said something about T-Bar, so I just want to get what Shawn Michaels might have said about T-Bar.
Is it about his hair?
No, it's not about his hair. Hold on. Because he's doing the media call, and I'm not listening, obviously, because I'm doing this. Let's see what he says. Shawn Michaels says, "It's not like we don't see what goes on out there in the social media world, the shaking of fists that goes on with certain characters."
That's a good way to acknowledge, yeah, T-Bar was fucking dumb.
Stupid. So, like, let's talk about that for a second. Because during the one on Friday, he was really like, yeah, I'm having such an easier time here now because
now that Vince is gone.
Because you know, I have a great relationship with Hunter, and you know, around Stand and Deliver, I basically told management, hey, let me just do what I want to do. And because of recent developments, things have only gotten easier. So now I can actually honestly say, even though I've said it before, I can honestly tell you now, if you don't like what happens, it's my fault. Before I can
Good on Michaels to say that, though. And to own up to it, too.
Here's what I'll say. Shawn Michaels, on the one media call I heard, and I will check out this one when I'm done here, he's very honest. And I think that is important. Honesty is always good. And he was very just like, yeah, look, like he even said, I don't care if we're seen as a softer generation. I want the talent here to know that their problems matter and that nothing is too important. Nothing is too unimportant to discuss. Basically, like, you can see kind of like the full circle of the Lost My Smile promo where he's like, yeah, fuck that. I don't care if you're seen as weak. I want you to be okay as a person. Like, and I just appreciate a lot of what he had to say.
Good on Shawn.
Yeah.
That's what you want to hear from somebody like that instead of like, God damn it, this generation doesn't what I. You know?
Yeah, he's just like, fuck, I don't care if they're seen as the softer generation, you know? Like, it's their mental health is more important. When they go up to the main roster, then they can worry about the business side of things. But I want their NXT experience to be fun.
Thumbs up on Shawn Michaels. Again. Give him a broom to wrestle. Give him one of the brooms that was in the Weapons of Wild match. He'll figure it out. So yeah, it's Halloween Havoc. That is the
But what we're saying here,
third to last event of the year.
Well, what we're saying here is we're glad it happened. We're glad it's over.
Yeah, we're glad it's done. Yeah. It's the theme of the night. So we want to know what you have to say. Drop the thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. If you're glad that it's over, if you're glad that the podcast is over, or anything else along those lines. Make sure that you are checking out everything else that's happening on smarkoutmoma.com. Make sure you are going under A Mango Tree by going to amangotree.com or anthonymango.com. They both link you to the same exact thing because I'm too lazy to make another website. So they are on my link tree. And they will give you links to all sorts of different things, like the Fanboys Anonymous content that you can find on fanboysanonymous.com. Or if you are too lazy, you could type, plenty of other versions of that, and they'll still go to the same site too. And then you got the Facebook and Twitter and other social media things that you should like and follow and subscribe to and do all that good stuff, like the Patreon and the Redbubble and TeePublic shops and everything from that. You should also follow me at my personal accounts at Tony Mango, where you can see things like how every time I get done something on this Karate Kid watch along, I just go on like a multi-tweet kind of rundown of, all right, I finished another season of Cobra Kai. Here's 20 thoughts about it and such. I'm going to compile all this into something. And I eventually decided on the term that I'm using for it, because I wanted to name it something like how we did a review to a kill for the Bond thing. And I realized I'm going to go with watch on, watch off.
Nice.
But yeah, check that out there. Follow me and do all that good stuff. And make sure you're following Rob as well.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice, Twitter and Twitch, preferably. I'm also on Instagram. And you should just follow me there too, because I enjoy having followers. I'm going to try to formulate an actual Twitch schedule as I see how my own schedule lines up. I really want to expand into more content. And in order to be motivated to do that, you need the audience. So if you like me here, you'll like me there. It's just me trying to branch out on my own a little bit, and I want to take you guys along for the ride.
And you're streaming things like Gotham Knights, so it's a brand new game.
Gotham Knights, Rumbleverse, which is just like this battle royale game where you do wrestling moves, so that's very much up to Sally. Gonna do some more like visual novel type games. We're just gonna see what's out there and play it all and do it all.
So find it all at Dude Felice, and
That's right.
Make sure that you are staying tuned for what's coming up next on the Smack Talk podcast. We've got,
which is the randomizer draft, right? We've pretty much decided.
We've got a randomizer of all the champions in WWE from the past 22 years. Everybody that's won a title from the year 2000 onward that Callum was able to make a whole big list of, and we're going to randomize that. We're going to do a mock draft, and then at some point down the line, whether it's a dark cast or it's an extra main event or just an extra podcast for the sake of it or something, we'll end up making our pay-per-view cards and then trying to play into that the way that we've done many of those in the past. So if you love the mock drafts and you are aching for some more, since it's been a little while since we've done one, I think what we figured out was like May or something.
Yeah,
May or June or something. Like, it was quite a while since we've done like a proper mock draft. So despite the fact that that's like one of the main things on this channel at this point, we did kind of have too many pay-per-views in a row that got in the way of that. So we got another one coming up. And then of course we get another round of the hot tags. And before you know it, man, it's fucking November and we get into Crown Jewel, and then you blink your eyes and we're talking about the lack of day one. Yeah. So the end of the year awards are coming up before you know it, in about like 8 weeks or so, practically. Fuck. So start compiling your lists and stuff. Keep that in mind, and we'll see you when we see everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark out moment, and we're being counted out.